to your drum. Achieve success with Global.Media.com. Then celebrate it with or without champagne or rum.
Yeah. Relation disappears. Yeah. Always a good thing, Simon. You and I hold the fort whilst our host does something else. It's not as though we can start the show without Lisa. Yeah, you're back.
I'm here.
We
lost that's all right.
All right. I'll leave it to you, Lisa.
So we are live. We are here, hopefully for the entire show.
Are we live? Are we actually live?
My friends, if you're seeing us, please let us know where you're joining us from, because we cannot see the comments.
Yes.
Let me see if we're on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm just turning mine on. And we're on LinkedIn. Yeah, we're on LinkedIn.
Okay, excellent.
And our friends are here. I can see people on our LinkedIn. I'm sure they will show up on our restream in a second.
Yes. So please let us know where you're from. And we are so excited because we have someone who's pretty new to our audience, but this will be a very interesting conversation. So let me pass the mic quickly to our guest speaker, Simon, to give him 2 minutes to introduce himself, and then you can take the mic, Annie, to introduce yourself, and we get the show started.
Thank you, Lisa. So I'm Simon Salt. I'm a writer, certified menopause coach. I write at The Quiet Transition on Substack. And my focus is men supporting their partners going through peri and post-menopause, and how they can show up and better support their partners and provide them with the information they need to do that.
Very succinct. I like that. So who's made it in a room? Kayla. Welcome, Kayla. So I don't know if we've met before, but great to have you here. As I said, there's many more on my LinkedIn, on our LinkedIn event. So Coach K is here. I wonder if I won't be able to make the live, but I look forward to being part of the team replay. That's all right. So now Coach Sean is here as well. Identity Disruptor. Dr. Suba, I see you. Welcome, of course, the legend Will is here as well. So this particular show points directly to men and the silent problem that men face or may encounter. Isn't that so true? That's so true.
Exactly.
I'm the man that experiences all of that, but let's not worry about it. My dad experienced the same thing, so that's why I learned many of my lessons from. Right, what do? I do these shows, number one, but also I said my thing to help you write, publish, and sell your books. I'm guaranteed to make your book a bestseller. But Simon, I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
We need to talk now. I want to learn more about your book. I like authors. I work with authors because that's where I think we make the most impact on the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, of course, I say we will do these events as well, and I do events offline, putting authors on stages. So
awesome.
This one's going to be in London, so we definitely talk and see how that works, right?
My hometown.
I tell you, you poor thing.
Well, I don't live there now.
Yeah, no, same here. I moved a lot. I moved in 2018. The very southwest. So anyway, we need to know. There's many. It's funny how Americans would tend to cross the world to go and meet each other. They catch a plane also. So us British people wouldn't even cross the road to meet a LinkedIn friend. We must change that, right? We must change that. Anyway, let me stop talking. Let's get on with our topic for the day, and then we can talk afterwards for sure.
Sure.
Lisa, I give the mic to you. You can tell them what you do, Lisa.
Yes. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the Madhouse. My name is Lisa Favek. I'm a dietitian, author, and coach for menopausal and perimenopausal women. I don't know where my mouth is going these days. It's going, my brain is going too fast. It's hot. I'm sorry. I think the reason why I'm stressing out so much is it's extremely hot. The sun is right outside my bedroom window and is refusing to move. So I'm dying. My computer is also overheating. So God, Lord, I'm just hoping that I don't get dropped on the show. But this is, these are the things that we experience as women, and we just have to, push on through and do what we need to do sometimes. The reason why we show up here every other Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, is to talk about another aspect of menopause, things that we don't talk about. I'm from the Caribbean, and these topics are still very taboo in some countries. It's only now that we're opening up and sharing our experiences. So I wanted to create a safe space on LinkedIn where both men and women can come and get information, raise their awareness, and take that information back to their homes, their communities, because that's the only way things will change. So today is no different. We're going to talk about the experiences women have, but how can we have that conversation with our partners? And then how do our partners support us? And I, came across Simon on Substack, and I loved his writing, but also the topic. He wasn't afraid to talk about this in a space where people don't usually talk about things like that. But he kept sharing his experiences, and I thought it was really nice to, sometimes it's good to hear what men are experiencing from men who are experiencing it. Paulette is not able to join us today. We're sending love and prayers to her. She's under the weather. But we have Simon and we have Annie, and Annie has also had his fair share of experiences with going through his partner going through menopause. So I think we'll have a great conversation. So if you're in the audience live or watching on replay, please let us know where you're joining from. Please also put your comments, put your questions, because we usually have a very engaged audience. So I don't think today will disappoint. So Simon, you started to talk about, you write on Substack, but
Mhm.
I know this is not, you talked about being a coach, but that's not where you started. So just wanted to find out a little bit about why you made that transition, why you thought it was so important to put your thoughts on a space like Substack for people to read.
Yeah, so it really came out of a conversation with my wife in September of last year. I've written 3 books before. Last one was published about 12 years ago, and they were marketing and business orientated books. So a very different topic. And in between, I've been doing photography. And at the end of last year, I decided, you know what, I want to get back into writing. I have a lot to say, but I need to focus. And so I was talking with my wife, and I said, I think I'm going to write about our experiences from my perspective of you going through perimenopause. And she started to go through perimenopause 10 years ago. She's still in perimenopause. So she's one of those unfortunate people that is experiencing very long, drawn out perimenopause. And so I started writing on Substack at the beginning of January and decided I was going to turn that into a book. So I've been working away on the first 2 chapters of that book, getting those ready to be included in a proposal to then go to an agent. So that's kind of succinctly my journey to date.
And I think it's really important what you do. If you see me looking away, it's because I'm checking my phone because the comments don't show up on LinkedIn, so I'm checking both devices. But what was that conversation like with your wife when you first started? Was she, I mean, I'm sure she was happy to know that you supported her in her journey. But you also talked about it being a very long journey, and this is something we discuss on this show, that perimenopause can last as long as it lasts, right? The
Mm-hmm.
internet talks about, the age for menopause being 51, and they make it
Average,
seem
yeah.
as if, it will happen exactly as the internet said. But for my own journey, I started in my 30s and I didn't start with hot flashes. So it took
Right.
me a while to even figure out what the heck was going on. And then I realized, there are over 100 symptoms. So we can all start different places, different symptoms. A lot of my clients have 50, 60 symptoms at one time. And sometimes they struggle to get out of bed. So
Yeah.
if you're going through those things and you're not sure what's going on, but then you have a partner who's also on that journey with you, I mean, it could be really challenging. So what was that
Very
first
challenging.
conversation like with her?
So we didn't have that conversation for about 6 years. So she started to experience symptoms in her late 30s, early 40s, and um, she went to the doctor, as you would, and was just told, "Oh no, don't worry about it. You're just getting older." In her early 40s, you're just getting older. And she actually went through 4 doctors who told her the same thing. She would go with different symptoms. They would do labs. Labs would be fine, no problems. So this is just you getting older. These aches and pains, these hot flashes are probably your diet. You probably need to change your diet. Um, not sleeping. You're probably stressed, which she was. Um, and So we basically didn't know what was going on. For the first 4 years, we didn't know anything that was happening. We just didn't have the word perimenopause in our language at all. So, as for me trying to support her, that was very difficult because I was coming to it from the aspect, because things were changing in our relationship, obviously. Intimacy was dying, physical and emotional. That was shifting. And so I was kind of in the place where, well, if the doctors are saying there's nothing wrong with you, then what's going on with us? And if it's not you, then it must be me. And so that's really where we spent a number of years, not really having that conversation, not really knowing what to talk about, and me very much, as time went on, more and more personalizing things.
I think that's that sentence that you said just now. Well, if it's not you and nothing is wrong with you, then it may be me. And
Mm-hmm.
I see so many men having that thought because I don't just counsel the woman, I counsel the family because it's everyone going through it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times that is what comes up. At the beginning, I thought it was me. And they don't know where to go from there because to them, nothing has changed. They're still doing the same things, eating the same, nothing has really changed. So, if the doctor is saying, well, nothing is wrong with you, then well, it must be. But where do I go from there? Because in my mind, nothing is wrong.
Right.
And it's sad to me. I mean, I know things are getting better because we're having the conversations now, but to go to 4 different doctors and for none of them to come up with, I mean, even in the hot flashes, which is a common symptom, you would think, okay, that would trigger it. And to say, well, yes, okay, maybe you need to change your diet, which is true. Maybe it was triggered by diet as well.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's sad that the most common symptom, no one picked it up, and no one was able to even
Yeah.
say the word menopause to her, and that's what's so frustrating, not having an answer.
Yeah.
And I know that from personal experience, not having an answer is so frustrating.
It's very frustrating, and um, and I can only speak from experience here in the US, but in the US, doctors on average get somewhere between 2 hours and half a day on perimenopause and menopause symptoms. So that's 2 hours, half a day, or half a day on something that affects 51% of the population for 40% of their lives. So it's really not surprising that doctors don't make those connections.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, because they're not trained in it.
yeah,
That's not a focus. Women in general aren't a focus for the medical profession.
yeah.
You know, it's most research up until recently has been male focused and then extrapolated to women. Oh well,
Exactly.
this is what worked in men. This is what we observed. So it must be true for women as well.
And the research is not just men, it's done on white men, which is an even smaller group. So
Yeah.
it's then extrapolated to all men. And then,
Mhm.
well, we must be the same as men, right? So it should be work for us, you know, and even things as simple as blood pressure readings,
Mhm.
where, you know, the standard is 120 over 80 or 90, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Women's blood pressure tend to be on the lower side generally. So
Mhm.
right there, you can't even check properly for the basic things.
No.
How are we going to check for menopause as well now?
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
and it's so but at least I know things are changing. I'm seeing a lot more places in the US expanding, and I'm seeing connection loss. Hope is
You're back. You went away briefly.
yeah. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm still seeing the signs. So hopefully I'm in the show still.
We are still live.
You're
So
still live.
back
Yeah.
on, we're still live.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
okay. No, I'm seeing things coming up. So I know Restream is kicking me out soon. I can feel it. Ah, but yeah, you're very right. Now I know Annie is trying to not be a part of this conversation. He runs from things that are menopause. Annie, I know some people have joined the chat,
Yes, they have. They
but
have.
I need you to come back on camera because I want to ask you a question after. So why don't you
Oh
welcome
no!
the
Oh
folks?
no! No,
It's
Simon, you're
things
here
we've
to save
always
me.
talked about.
You know, I feel safe with you here, Simon. I'm all right. You know, so I welcome Sean. I don't think we welcome Christine. So Christine has her shows Monday, Thursday, Monday. I'm not sure which one.
Can't remember, but yeah, she has shows as well. I know most of the people here have their own LinkedIn live shows, so it's a lot of good people here. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, great to have you here. So you got Dr.
Hi,
Leslie is here as well. Now, Mindset Genius, thank you for joining us. So Chris Carey, so glad you're here. John's from Indiana. It sounds like Simon's in the US.
I
Yeah.
am. I'm in
yes,
Texas.
he lives there now. Yeah. Hi,
Sherry.
Chorizo. Yes, it's 5:30 in the morning there, so welcome, my friend.
Linda in Canada, you're here as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Bobby Lee, thank you for being here
Hi,
too.
welcome.
Who else do we have? Apparently, I'm here. Yeah, okay. Now it's more important that look. Now, if you want to join us in the studio, so you're welcome to click the restream link. The link is on the event page. If you want me to send you a link to your DM, then please just put it in the chat here. Don't send me a DM because I'm not going to see it. So I'm here, right? You know, so put it in the chat here, then I will send you the link.
Yeah, but they can join probably after 6. So we want to get some information in first.
After 6.
Oh, sorry, I'm watching my time. I'm
What time is that yours now, Lisa?
That will be after 11 p.m. your time.
Okay. Half an hour.
I think
Okay.
yes, in about half an hour's time. I'm
Okay.
seeing Alexis here as well.
I'm getting there. Alexis is
Yeah.
here as well, and the genius coach Brenda Lees is here as well.
Oh, hi.
Oh, I know. Okay, that's Christopher. Yeah, that's condolences. Seriously.
Yeah. Christopher shared a bit of his story with me through LinkedIn, so I invited him to these shows so that at least he knows that it's not just him going through this. it can be really tough on a family, especially when you have other things going on. When you layer that on top of menopause, it can be so very challenging. Um, it's I'm not sure if it's a good thing or bad thing to say that you're not alone. There are other men going through this. There are other families going through this. It's not just you. I wish things were different, but the reality is when we're going through menopause, the world doesn't stop, right? Things still happen, and we have to deal with all the 100+ symptoms of menopause and deal with everything else going on. And it can be really challenging where women sometimes they even check out of their lives mentally just to be able to cope. But then the rest of the family units has to somehow figure things out without the person who may be the main person in that family unit holding things together. So I know it can be really challenging.
That's
Annie, I wanted to ask,
two huge ones. So I can say Coach Brendalis as well. Welcome, welcome all of you. So of course, if you've got questions that you want Simon to answer, yeah, send them. Put them in the chat, please.
yeah, please put it in the chat because he may have something that worked for him that can work for you. Annie, I know it's not funny.
Why, Lisa?
Joking
Why?
about.
Go on, ask your question. What's your
No, I
question?
just wanted to know because we're talking. You first started noticing changes with your partner. What were some of the things? Did you have a conversation with her, or I know you jokingly say you just say yes, yes, there, and you do whatever because that keeps.
I don't do anything jokingly, Lisa. That was not jokingly. No, there was no conversation. Simon's a braver man than me. I have no. I like my peace and quiet. So, what's the first signs? It wasn't one thing. It wasn't one moment. I think let's say that when I say I wasn't, it's not joking. I mean that sincerely. Like it's realizing that things are changing, and I'm saying that starts way before any dates or ages you can give us, Lisa. For me, saying they said maybe the first thing I realized was that she didn't really enjoy cooking for everyone. The way we thought. I mean that she likes doing these things, this house stuff. And when you sort of begin to realize that no, that's not true, then they say that's just, it's more than let's say it's the signs that things are changing. Our norm is no longer. We can't take things for granted anymore. So you begin to. I begin to work out. Okay, what is going on here? I'm probably talking early 40s, really. Maybe mid 40s. And so I just defaulted to that nice person. I call it being your higher self. Just being a nice, your best version that you can be, rather than carry on being an ignorant yob as I was as a young man. I figured, I would just be nice and see where that gets us. It's only later on that I realized, okay, this is when of course, from working with you as well, Lisa, you say, okay, so the age tallies up within reason, where we are. So it must be menopause. But I'm not that brave to say to her, oh, you're in menopause. Yeah, let's talk about it. No.
Good.
So my mind went somewhere else. My mind was more, how do I? It's not how do I keep the peace. You see patterns, Lisa. You see patterns, right? Go to work, come back. Oh, this is wrong. You're like, it's the same as when you left this morning, and same as it was yesterday. So nothing's really changed. And then when it happens again tomorrow, and again after, then you sort of realize it's not the person I knew 2 years ago, for example, right? Now, so now you begin to get into self-protection mode and protection of the kids. Because there's two ways to approach these things. Either you're gonna have an argument about that thing that's insignificant, but apparently is wrong. Toilet seat, you're like, minor. Toothpaste. I'm saying these are minor things, right? So I'm not gonna have an argument about this silly thing. So you sort of think, okay, this is gonna happen again tomorrow. So we did not. I just corral the family and say, right, let's learn to just say, yeah. We're all guilty, and it will pass, and it passes. It passes, and then we have some peace, and then but we're going to do it again tomorrow because it's where we are in life. That's when you realize that you are at a different stage of life. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I think well, every family has to find something that works for them. And this is why I love having these conversations. This is why I love people to share in the comments, because not everything will work for you. So take what works for you and you can leave the rest. But there's no right or wrong to menopause. Because you will give it from your experience. Okay, nothing seems wrong. And in her mind, everything is falling apart. And it's not irrational. It's not coming from an irrational place, right? It's biology. So how do I fight that? And if I'm not willing to even admit I'm in menopause, because if I admit that, then I also admit that I'm over the hill. I have no use again. What God put me here for, I'm not able to do again. There's so many things that go on there. So if that works for you, I say, great. Because I know some women can take that and extrapolate it to, well, we need to get a divorce. From as simple as the toothpaste was left in the wrong place. I've had clients who said that their husband is breathing too loud. I want a divorce. I can't take it anymore. Or he's clipping his nails and I found one, and it's not something he's just started doing. He's doing it for years. He's been breathing the same way for years, right? But now you want a divorce over it. And again, it's not coming from a mental health sort of irrational, well, I can just give you some antidepressants and it goes. No. But, this is where if I admit at least I am in menopause, then I could start having a conversation. If I can't even admit that, then I'm not ready for a conversation. I'm not ready for coaching. I'm not ready for anything yet. And that's okay as well. But it does put a strain on the family. So now the family has to decide, and maybe your approach is the best approach. Whatever she says, and in that moment, she's right. Because it's either that or it escalates to a big argument and I want a divorce. And that doesn't help anyone. And I know you've talked about that as well on the show. Right? So that doesn't make sense either. So I think sometimes just keeping that peace in that moment may be the right thing for the family. But again, this is why we have these conversations and we hear different perspectives. So I appreciate that, NEC. It's good that you're here and talking. Although you begrudgingly don't want to. Right?
I'm really glad, Annie, that you did not say, "Oh, you must be in menopause." That is about the worst possible thing a male partner can ever say. That or, "Oh, it's your hormones." Please don't ever say that, guys. I mean,
that's the same as telling me to relax.
The funny thing is, these now she's talking about having taken or going to doctors for medication. So I know which I'm saying now, but now she happily mention it now, and so that's when. Do I want to talk about it? No, we're used to it now. It's fine.
But how many years from when it first started and now she's willing to say the word menopause? How many years did it take to get
maybe 3, 4?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
easily 3 or 4. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's interesting, Lisa, you were saying that the reaction for women when they start to admit or won't admit, yes, I'm in menopause, or no, I'm not going to accept that. It's also true for men
Hmm.
of their partner.
Yeah.
They don't want to accept that their partner has reached menopause or perimenopause because what does that mean about them?
Hmm.
Where does that place them on the timeline? And
Exactly.
there's a lot of other changes going on for the man in the relationship and in his personal or professional life that can be impacting them in terms of identity shift and what aging brings for
Hmm.
everybody, for men and women,
Yeah.
and the identity shift that we all go through. And then having to suddenly admit, and I actually had this conversation the other day on Substack, where it took them months to convince their husband that, yes, I am in perimenopause.
Yeah.
Just wouldn't accept it. No, no, you're not. You're too young. No, that can't be happening. And I think as well, there's that fear of, well, what does that mean for me?
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of, we talk about, and I think people like yourself and people like me, we're in the bubble. So we have access to a lot of information.
Yeah.
We're talking about this subject all the time. And for a lot of women still, they're not in that bubble yet.
Yeah.
They're still outside. They're still wondering. They're still not got the words like perimenopause and postmenopause and estrogen and progesterone and testosterone and all of those other great words that start to come up when you have the real conversations. Men are even further away from the bubble
Yeah.
because there's so little information out there that is actually angled towards men.
Yeah.
There's lots of information if they care to consume it, but when they do consume it, there's a risk that one of two things happens. It becomes a to-do list, things that they can check off a
Yeah.
list. We've got a tick list now. You've got this, you've got this, you've got this. You don't have this, you don't have this. So this is where we're at.
Yeah.
Right. Problem is that men, when they get those to-do lists, want to fix things.
Exactly.
That's who we are. We're
Yeah.
solution-based people. Men are traditionally taught to be solution-based,
Yeah.
solution-focused people. And you give them a list of symptoms, and that's what they're going to try and do. It's like, oh, great, and now I know what's wrong.
Yeah.
We can fix this. Well, no, you can't fix it because nothing's broken. So that
Exactly.
that's a big shift for men to accept that this is not a solution you're going to come up with. And then the other side of that is, and something I have to walk a very fine line with, even in my own household, is not mansplaining the symptoms.
Yes.
So as Emmy said, not saying, oh well, you're in menopause, or this is your hormones, because just because I have the information doesn't mean, one, that my wife doesn't already know it because
Yeah.
she's done a lot of research. Two, that it's going to come across right. It's not necessarily going to land properly if I say it that way.
Yeah.
So, my biggest, I got asked actually on LinkedIn yesterday, what is the one piece of advice I would give to a man in this situation? And it's really just 3 words. And I bring it back to this all the time: sit, listen, believe. Sit with them, not with the intention of fixing anything. Just sit. Listen actively, really understand or want to understand what they're living through. And then whatever they're telling you they're living through, believe them. Don't dismiss this as, oh, well, maybe you're exaggerating. Maybe that's not quite that bad, But actually, sit, listen, and believe what you're hearing, I think is the minimum
Yeah.
that men can do. And it's probably also the best thing they can do. Even though they've got a list of symptoms, maybe they're having those conversations now. But kind of the way Annie was talking about, keeping the peace. But this is kind of that next step from keeping the peace, is still having the conversations. But sit, listen, believe. Don't try and steer the conversation, but encourage the safe space and hold that safe space for your partner to actually feel like talking, and do it on their timeline.
Yeah, and this is something I also encourage women to do, to find a good time where both of you all could have the conversation, even if he's listening. So one, we tend to think once we come next to our partner, and he's been my partner for X amount of years, so he should know when I'm sad, he should know when I'm angry, he should know just from me sitting and sighing that I want to have a conversation. The same way that men are, these fixers, they're also not that emotionally intelligent to know when, okay, your sigh means X, right? We haven't evolved to that yet, right? So have the conversation. Okay, I need to have a conversation with you. I need to share something. I need to talk about something. But also do it in a time where both of you all have the space and the energy to listen. So not when it's his first favorite football game, not when he just comes through the door, even though you may have something that's really something that you need to share or talk about. Remember, he has to be in a space to listen and accept what you're saying. Conversation is a two-way street. My dad was a communications supervisor, and he always drilled into us, yes, we send the message, but you have to make sure the receiving side receives the correct message and then sends back information that, yes, I've received that information correctly. So we must be both in a space where we can share it. I am not going through something. I'm not having hot flashes at the same time, so that what I'm saying comes across the wrong way. We can schedule a time. Listen, Sunday evening or Sunday after lunch, let's schedule time. Let's schedule an hour. Maybe send the kids to their grandparents so that we have, that time where we're not interrupted, we're not distracted, but we can have that conversation. Because if you're at the point where I can share something with you and my partner's at the space where, okay, he doesn't know what's going on, but he's willing to listen, then we should set up a space where both of us can share. But you're so right. The man shouldn't come in with that fix it, you gave me this, okay. Even if the answer is right, because sometimes all we want to do is vent. We just want to get it off our chest and go away. We don't want a solution. We just want you to say, okay, and hear us. A lot of time it's just about being heard because no one else is listening. Our doctor is dismissing us. We can't talk about it at work because we will, probably get passed over for promotion. So we have to keep it quiet there. Our parents didn't have the same experience. My mom didn't have the same experience. So I can't even share it there. So it's really about listening, but making sure we're in a space that we could listen and receive that information.
Yeah, you brought up some interesting points. I wrote about this on Substack a few weeks ago. 72% of men that in a recent survey said they were having these conversations. So that's great.
That's
they're
great,
in these.
yeah.
72% of women said they started the conversation. So men are in the conversations, but they're not starting the conversations. They're not coming to that space and saying, can we talk about this? They're waiting to be invited to the conversation. And sometimes they're not invited. Because, there's a lot of reasons why. And there's a lot of other things that perimenopause starts to reveal, cracks in the relationship. It's not that perimenopause is the cause of those cracks. A lot of those things have existed for a long time. inequality within the house, domestic chores, emotional labor, a lot of those imbalances that have gone on maybe for decades, depending
Yeah.
on how long the relationship is. And perimenopause starts to reveal those things because the hormone
Yeah.
fluctuations, it impacts the brain, it reduces tolerance. There's good biology behind all of this happening. It's
Yeah.
not just a choice where the
Yeah.
woman decides, oh well, I'm not putting up with this anymore. You've got to put the toothpaste back in the right place or else. This is, there's a tolerance going on that's being reduced biologically, and so these cracks appear, and it seems, and can, especially to a man, seem, well, you've never mentioned this before. Why suddenly now?
Yeah.
That we've been fine all this time. Everything's been going along just fine. The last 10 years have been great. Nothing's ever changed. And now suddenly you're saying that you don't want me to do this, or you do want me to do this. Why haven't we had these conversations before? And there's a lot of reasons why women don't have those conversations.
Yeah.
A lot of reasons, that safety, security, those feelings of not wanting to upend life.
Yeah. Not want to rock the boat. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So they go along to get along, and then they get to that point where perimenopause starts to reveal the cracks, their tolerance drops, and now suddenly the man is presented with this laundry list of things they're doing wrong, like breathing too loudly, or chewing
Yeah.
too loudly, or sitting in the wrong place, or sitting the wrong way, or, as Amy said, putting the toothpaste down in the wrong place.
Yeah.
All of those kind of things that seem minor, and there are some major things as well. Like I said, the emotional labor that the woman now has a lowered tolerance for taking on. Organizing the kids' life, organizing the husband's life, being
Yeah.
that major kind of the CEO of the house. People talk about that almost jokingly, but it's true. The women have often, it's fallen to them most often to run the house, to be
Yeah.
responsible for everybody else's well-being.
Planning or everything from doctor's visits to everyone, when you're taking
Yep.
medications, when you're
Yep.
what clothes to buy, when to buy them, simple things. And then you throw children, you throw aging parents, and we haven't gotten
Mhm.
to it yet, right?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And it becomes this perfect storm
Yeah.
within a relationship of the man suddenly being blindsided by all of this. Like, what did I do? Because
Yeah.
again, personalization. If it's not you, it must be me.
It must be me. Yeah.
So
And
I have been doing these things wrong all this time, and I didn't know it.
yeah.
And then it's an identity shift for a man who has been conditioned to have a certain role within the household and has relied on his partner to have a certain role,
Yeah.
and never realizing that actually this is a joint role. These are things we can do together. And now suddenly this is a thing we have to do together. And he made this point as well, that it's a life stage. This is something we are going through together.
Yeah. And I mean, some cultures aren't even ready for that statement. We are in this together. Because in a lot
Yeah.
of cultures, especially like in the Caribbean and Africa, because, a lot of Caribbean people, we come from Africa, right? Slavery, all of those crazy things. But a lot of the cultural things are very similar, where the man is the head of the household and the woman supports the man, but it also means the woman is seen and not heard. So even you talked about that, women's health, going back to research and what conversations we have, we even talking about things like puberty, menstrual health, all of
Mhm.
those things, we're now having those conversations. Some communities, it's still very taboo. So even to have a conversation of, okay, can I have a conversation with my partner? Or if I bring this up, will he leave me? Just from
Mhm.
having the conversation, that's a real fear. And
Yeah.
when it throws children into the mix, and and all of those things. Maybe the man is the breadwinner, the only breadwinner in the household. So it's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of internalizing that goes with perimenopause and menopause. You talked about it showing the cracks in the relationship. A lot of times it brings up a lot of childhood trauma, things that happened with their parents, and all of these things are coming to the surface, but you're still expected to perform. It can be really, really challenging. So, I mean, I'm hoping that people in the audience, they're able to take these thoughts and carry it back to their partners, carry it back to their male friends as well. Maybe start having the conversation of, what's going on in your life when you're sitting down. We call it liming in the Caribbean. We get together, we have some food, we have some drinks. Yes, we may talk about sports and all of that, but maybe ask, genuinely, how are you doing?
Yeah.
What's going on with you and your partner? And it's not to dive into their personal business.
Right.
But sometimes, we talk about women just wanting to vent. Men also need that space to talk about these things. So even if it's to just ask your friend, hey, how are you doing? Is everything, okay? Because we may not have all the answers, but sometimes just having someone to support us will get us through the years where the woman finally admits she's in menopause and is ready to do something about it.
Right. And I think the other thing you mentioned earlier, we haven't thrown work in yet into this mix.
Yeah.
And I think the other part of male education is men realizing, oh, this is happening at home. So they're kind of separating, they're siloing what's happening at home, get to the office or get to work, wherever they work. This is a different environment.
Yeah.
But it isn't, because they're working with women in that age group.
Yeah.
In that 45 to 64-year age group. And for some women younger than that, for some women older than that, they're still experiencing things in postmenopause. My wife's grandmother had hot flashes until she was 80.
Yeah. And we're seeing that more and more as a normal occurrence.
Right. So, they're experiencing these things around you. So if you're learning about these things that affect your partner at home, how can you change the work environment so that women in the workplace actually get some kind of leeway and some kind of understanding about their situation? There's some very good movement in the UK on this. There is a business manifesto that a lot of large employers have signed on to actually include perimenopause and menopause education and benefits now in the workplace, which is phenomenal. Nothing like that currently exists in the US. The Society of Human Resource Managers has recognized the menopause transition as a workplace issue. AARP has recognized it as a workplace issue, but even in the major workplaces that recognize it, they're not doing anything about it yet.
Yeah, so I know the UK is really leading the charge when it comes to menopause policies. They're encouraging companies to develop menopause policies because sooner or later it's going to become maybe not low. I'm not is the right word I'm looking for, but I know they're talking about even taxing businesses who don't have a menopause policy. So they're really pushing it. I've been seeing certain it's maybe not statewide in the US, but I know a lot of companies are moving towards having menopause policies or women's health policies that include menopause in there. They're having the conversations. I know something was passed in New York last year. I know it's either Minneapolis or one of those states that start with M, Minnesota. One of them also had, there was a news report about it. Felipe Cofinio, who's in HR, talked last show that a lot of companies are having a conversation, but you need managers who are forward thinking.
Yeah.
But the conversation is happening. I know I make a joke when Oprah talks, the world listens. So
Yeah.
the more she talks about it and these Hollywood stars talk about it, more and more companies are realizing, okay, this is a conversation we need to have. But the
And
rest of the world needs to sort of join in and
yeah,
have these conversations now.
one of the conversations I'm having with business leaders is from the financial point of view, because that's really how you get their attention.
Yes,
And
yes.
in the US, menopause costs $26 billion a year of lost money, lost revenue to businesses in the US every single year.
Yeah.
When you tell them numbers like that, they sit up and pay attention.
Yes.
Because that's real numbers. That's real money. $26 billion. That's, I've got a post coming out, but that's basically the GDP of a large city like Charleston in South Carolina. That's like
Yeah.
taking them out of the American economy every year,
Yeah.
just not having them put any money into the American economy. That's a huge loss.
Yeah.
And it's across the board. It's healthcare costs, it's presenteeism, it's absenteeism.
Yeah.
It's the fact that women just decide not to take that promotion.
Yeah. A lot of times they retire or they resign.
They'll just leave the workplace. So this is a
Yeah.
huge cost, and it's a one way that I'm trying to get business leaders to pay attention is show them the money.
Yeah. Even tapping into the company's healthcare insurance, that's going to increase as well, medications. So
Mm-hmm.
it does affect them, it does affect their bottom line. So
Mm.
again, this is why we need to have the conversation.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Annie, are you still there? Or are you under the covers?
Lisa, I'm always here.
I know, I like to harass you. I'm seeing some new faces in the chat, new names.
Yes, I'm scrolling up. How far do I want to go? Okay, I got to Alexis. Coach Carrie is here as well. So welcome. And I think like we will say, people's condolences, Christopher. Christy's here as well.
Hi,
Welcome.
Chrissy.
She kind words to Christopher as well. And Linda's saying the same thing. I think Christopher's point earlier. I did listen. So I was here. Sit, listen, and believe.
Yes.
Important point. I think. I might say the work starts earlier, Christopher. I think the work starts. There's a level of acceptance in what we're being told, so to speak. I mean, when you were speaking, I'm thinking that when I was a baby, when I was a few years ago, let's say I came home with a football injury, for example. I could cry like a baby, and well, my wife said no, so it helps, right? Even then, she wouldn't really care. But I would expect her to say, "Yeah, I understand your pain," and not question it, and not say, "Oh, get over it," sort of thing, right? I think as men, we have to be in that position to say, "Yeah, this is the situation we have. Your feelings are legitimate. They're your feelings." And I must not take offense. I think you said you said it earlier when you said, something about taking it as if it's not me, it's you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that I've learned just let it go. Let it go. 99% of the time it will go away. I'm not saying ignore what's being said. I'm not saying don't resolve the issues that you mentioned around the sharing of domestic chores, for example. We have to look. We have to be willing to look and think, okay, how can I be more? How can I be more helpful? How can I be more, more useful in this relationship? Rather than just saying, no, I just carry on. I expect my dinner on the table at this time. you do all that stuff, I don't do any of that's not going to work, right? I mean, that's the acceptance that we're in this we're in this together, so to speak, and we have to make we have to carry on living. And sometimes that just means, like I said, creating the peace, but also doing our part.
Yeah.
And also accepting that we haven't done our part for a long time. Jackie, we see you.
I think that you have to also factor in the conditioning. It's not necessarily you haven't done your bit or you haven't played your role. It's the conditioning that men in a lot of societies have had that isn't their role. So they don't even have that thought process of, oh, I should do this. And quite often it's the fix it role. That's what the man's role is. It's fixing things, whether that's fixing things around the house. That's the fixing. That's their role. It's not doing other things like keeping track of childhood doctor's appointments. That's not a role that they're conditioned to do.
I agree.
Yeah,
And so
that
it
would
can
have
be
come
hard to
from
just for them to actually make that shift, to actually, let me do this.
yeah, and that would have been taught to them by his mother. And he would have seen his mother do her role and his father have his role. So now to come and tell him, okay, well, that role has to change now, that could be very challenging. So I agree with anyone who says it's not maybe that conversation. We need to have different conversations as we raise children, as we get into relationships, the expectations of the relationship. Not wait till menopause when these things, I mean, it may be too late then, right? But that means a totally different way of thinking to how we raise children, how we educate them, what we're taught in schools. There's a different shift. It can happen because some countries are doing it, but it means a totally different shift in everyone's thinking, which it's slow to turn that boat around.
I will say, my biggest lessons, which just came on, was like autopilot, really, was remembering how my foster dad was. And that's partly where I learned to just, to do the things I do. He was just accepting and, yes, we played the walking on eggshells, but he knew what was coming, so we knew what was coming. And he never reacted the way you might think some people might react. It was never shouting about, and it was never discourteous. Is what I'm looking for. Right? It was always understanding, and so that the task was simply to get the house at peace at all times. And whatever that took, is what we all did. But he's the one who led it pretty much. And that's why I go the same way. Beth, I like Beth's point. Beth says, perhaps don't say you understand the pain. That's patronizing, right?
I think it's
absolutely
how it's said as well. But I think it's knowing your partner and how things are said. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Because I can say that in a different way and it wouldn't come across as patronizing. Right. But I think it goes back to knowing your triggers for your partner, what works, what doesn't work. Sometimes, as Annie said, just saying yes there, sometimes that will work. Sometimes that wouldn't, so you have to, but again, being with the right person, learning to communicate, even if it's something you learn later in life, because it can happen, right? Maybe gets counseling, there are different ways to go about it. But if you really want to be with the person you're with, and you really take it as, okay, we're together for the rest of our lives, then we have to find something that works for us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I think invariably that thing requires us to play our part. There are two things I would say, that I guess I've learned on this road. The first one is the need to maybe not rely on your partner for your happiness. And
Oh,
I
absolutely.
know what I'm trying to say. Literally, I'm not saying, I don't want my partner to make me happy. I'm saying, when you rely on someone else to make you happy, menopause can cause chaos because it's not about you, it's about them. If that makes sense. It has to be about them and what they might want or need, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Saying, finding something I can do, finding a way to find my happiness meant, if there was a menopause storm in the house, I didn't have to feel, like my world had ended.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's one for sure. I guess the second thing I would say, is definitely the need to communicate, that you just said, Lisa. It's so important. We have to communicate, and and I guess face ourselves, in the relationship. Let me give you a simple example. You say, the one thing that I've developed over the years, over recent years, is around washing up. I don't like stuff in the sink, because she doesn't like stuff in the sink. She never did. Not that anyone does. So if you use a plate, wash a plate. It's not rocket science. Otherwise, what you're saying is very clear. The slave will come and wash it sometime. The slave is invariably the mom, right? So I just developed this habit of, the sink must be clear. Everyone must just do your bit. I'm not saying, you use the plate. Let's not argue about it. It's your plate. Wash it. And if I'm going past the sink, I will wash what's in the sink, because normally it means I used it, right? You get the idea. I think we have to learn to truly play our part, rather than being the burden. Maybe it comes back to what you said about gender roles earlier. But I think I have to truly say, these days I cook my food quite happily. I will say I wash, after myself. I pick up after myself, because I'm not leaving it for the slave to come and do, like we used to. I think we can all play that responsible role, of looking after ourselves. Go on, Simon, please.
I think it's important that we get men out of the helper mindset, because when men say, "Well, I helped do this, I babysat the kids,"
No, you
or
doing your role.
It's not your kid.
Your responsibilities. Now, they say that you're not helping. You're doing the right thing.
you're a partner.
Yeah.
So when you shift from helping to being a partner, you stop keeping score.
Exactly.
Because when you're a helper, it's, well, I did this, so you should do something for me. So we're keeping track of things. When you're on the same team, you're not scoring you're not scoring points against each other.
Yeah.
So when you shift that mindset from helper to partner, that becomes very big. And I think that actually speaks to Charito's question about egos, and letting go of ego. Yeah, that's when you've got two very strong personalities in a relationship. Perimenopause is going to definitely fire that up and heat things up even more if you've got two strong personalities that aren't willing to let go. And at some point, somebody has to let go.
Yeah.
That's when I say, we'll bring our highest selves to the relationship. There's no point winning the argument and then losing the battle, losing the relationship.
Right. And that's definitely the thing with ego. The reason you bring ego in is because you want to win. So you're keeping score. You're keeping track of who won the last argument, who won the last situation. And that's what has to break, is that scorekeeping. And men are particularly Women are too, but men are particularly good at scorekeeping.
Yeah.
And, you know, once you can break that habit, and, you know, I happily admit, well, not happily, I admit that before this kind of transition that I'd gone through with my wife, I definitely was a scorekeeper. You know, that was
most men are, Simon. I think that's the
yeah.
point. Right?
You know, I mean, that's the part. You know, we're scorekeepers, we're solution providers. Those are our roles. And once you, like I said, once you stop keeping score, it's amazing what changes.
Yeah.
Really.
Because now it's not my job or your job, it's ours. This isn't happening to you or me. It's a life stage that's we are navigating. And it stops being personal for either of you. It stops being the woman's issue. It stops being the man's personalization, and it becomes a couple's thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And you start using the word we more often rather than I. What is best for us in this situation? What is the right solution for us?
Yeah.
Not for me, not for you, but for us.
So again, my point about, you know, our higher selves, the one who wants to make things happen for us rather than what's best for me. You know, which I think also feeds into the point about this is not about doing things once or twice. you know, this is, you know, it almost demands a lifestyle change. You know, a true change.
Yeah.
How we're approaching our lives and family and the household and our relationship. You know, because, you know, it's not even for a year. You know, it's how we must be going forward, which is better partners.
Yeah, absolutely. And given that perimenopause lasts anywhere between 4 and 10 years, if you're lucky, then it absolutely requires a reworking of roles. Because, like you said, this is not something that's going to happen once or twice. This is not something that goes away after a week or so. It's not like catching a cold or getting the flu. This is something that carries on for years.
Yeah.
And you're looking at anywhere between half and a full decade, if not longer. And then having hit menopause, that one day in a woman's life where she transitions from perimenopause to postmenopause, she's going to spend the rest of her life in postmenopause, however long that is. So again, you're
It's till you
facing
die.
decades.
Yeah, by the way, it's till we die. So we're in it for life.
Yeah. So like I say, you know, this is 40% of a woman's life. And if you're going to be a life partner, that's what you're taking on. This is when you make those changes, you're making them permanently. Like you said, this is not a temporary thing. This is not something you're doing for now, but in a year's time, you can go back to the way it was.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to that question. Okay, is this the person I want to be with? The person I married, you know, is it for forever? Is it till death do us part? And if the answer is truly yes, then okay, we need to find something that works for us. And if, you know, we may need outside help, we may need a coach, we may need counselors, we may need our priest, or, you know, we need someone to help us navigate that. But again, it goes back to that communication. It goes back to, okay, taking that ego out. What do if I want what's best for you and you want what's best for me, then now we're starting to have an even playing field. But if it's always about that ego, then you're not even ready to have that conversation. And then we need to decide, okay, is this the person? If they really can't get rid of that ego, then maybe this is not the right person for us to continue our life with. Which is why divorce rates are so high.
You know, I like the way of thinking this. The thing, the problem I see is that every partner you get is going to get to that age. What are you going to do? Keep leaving them?
Well,
Yeah,
some people, that's what they do, right?
yeah, it does. They keep trading them in for younger
Trade them in
models.
for younger ones. We've seen it.
That's not gonna work. That's not
But
gonna work,
I
right?
mean, is that true happiness? I mean,
No, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
yeah,
But surely,
Yeah.
not everyone sees that, right?
But
Kenny, welcome, and then I forgot to welcome Dr. Marcia is here as well.
yes,
the numbers support what you're saying, Lisa. In at least in the US, between the ages of 45 and 64, 70% of women instigate divorce.
Yeah.
In that age group. Now, there's no direct causation yet, but certainly there's a strong correlation
there's
with that
definitely,
age group, what
yeah,
they're experiencing, and the fact that they are instigating. It's not the fact that they're waiting for this thing to happen, but they are actually taking the lead in this.
yeah.
And
It
in
goes back
the
to. So I was just
yeah,
going to say, it goes back to what you were saying before about what we're willing to put up with moving forward.
The
You know,
tolerance level going down.
the tolerance level.
yeah,
Yeah,
It's also crazy reasons. Like, because he shaved his beard. It's like, what the hell? You know, he went bald. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I think that the seeds of those problems have sown long before. See, but another, another captivating statistic, Simon, is the fact that many like remarriages break down more than first time marriages.
mhm, yeah.
Right. You know,
because
so
you haven't solved the problem.
exactly. You know, you think you
Yeah,
find another model and carry on the same way that you were. No, that's not going to work, right? You
Right.
know,
yeah,
who knows whether there's something there. You know, I think there is. So,
yeah.
you never prove causation, can you? So, interesting.
Yeah. I'm seeing two persons you missed out. William Rochelle.
No, not my LinkedIn.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing it on Restream. And Jay, Uncle Jay.
I mentioned Jay earlier.
You did? Okay. Did
We,
you mention Noni?
I say we live now.
Did you mention
William,
Noni?
so I will respond to your message, my friend. I'll respond to book a date to be on William's show. So just be you live.
Okay.
Yeah. There's many shows that we can go on, right? Miss Noni, Miss Pepperoni, glad you're here. How you doing? Yeah. I might have missed that because I'm probably looking at
Yeah.
next
If you've just joined us, please put something in the chat so we can see you. We can't see you otherwise. Let us know where you're joining us from. If you have any more questions for us, any comments, please also put it in the chat. We love to hear what your thoughts are on this.
And if you're on my YouTube, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Whilst you're there, like, there's people there, so
Yes.
do the right thing. We need engagement. We need numbers.
The right thing. Oh my goodness. So as we're about to close, but I just wanted to get maybe a couple tips. Where do we start? How do we start having a conversation? If the person is willing, if they're not willing, what do you suggest the man does, the partner does?
So I think the first thing is that you talked about, is your partner willing to make that admission? Are they willing to say that that's the life stage they're at? And if they're not, you cannot force it. You can't just, like I said before, is it your hormones? Is this menopause? That's definitely not the approach to take.
Yeah.
And I think it's Annie's approach of, okay, something is changing. Don't personalize it.
Yeah.
That's the big step. Don't personalize these changes and accept them for what they are. They are changes, and try and roll with them. And I think that depersonalization, it's very easy for men to personalize things. Especially when, for example, distance enters the relationship. When he perceives his partner becoming, there's a distance between him and her. And there's an immediate jump to, it must be me. So I think if you can break that mindset first, that's the first step. Stop personalizing things.
Yeah.
Once you're ready to have those conversations, once she is ready to have those conversations. It comes back to what I said before: sit, listen, believe. Find the time, as you talked about, scheduling if necessary, but sitting down and actually not coming with a fixer mindset. Just sit.
Yeah.
Listen actively. Really pay attention to what she is describing, because you can go to all the websites, you can pick up all the pamphlets in the doctor's offices. That's just data.
Yeah.
What you need is lived experience. And, you really, you need that lived experience. That's really what you need to be able to understand what's happening. And then the believe part. What she is telling you is happening is in fact happening. So this is how she feels. This is, and it's simple things like, okay, I understand the word hot flash. I understand what that means. I have the data on that. But what does that feel like for you? When do they happen? When's the worst time of the day? That type of thing. I think that's really what that foundation, that framework is of sit, listen, and believe.
Yeah, and I think you can ask the questions. You can come from a place of curiosity instead of the fix-it mindset. So as I said, what does that feel like? Describe it to me,
Yeah.
What are you experiencing? And even asking, how can I help? Let
Definitely.
her tell you. And if she says nothing, she doesn't need anything, then okay.
Believe.
Believe that's what she needs in this moment.
Yes.
Because it may be that she really doesn't need anything. It may be that she's not ready to tell you what she needs. You don't know exactly, but whatever it is, as you said, just listen and believe her.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
okay. I think if you, but with anything, if you come from a place of love, but also that sort of openness and curiosity, okay, I really want to understand. Just understand. I'm not trying to fix anything. I just want to understand what you're going through because I'm part of this journey with you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's very important that what you said there is asking with curiosity and finding out that lived experience. What does this feel like for you? For example, in conversations I've had with my wife, she gets her hot flashes around between 9:30 and 10:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm a yoga teacher. I know not to invite her to a yoga class first thing in the morning.
Right.
Because she's not going to say yes.
Yeah.
Simple things like that, life adjustments, these little things that, in the past I would have taken it personally. Oh, well, she doesn't want to support me in my teaching.
But
No.
maybe if okay, that is the time period in the morning, she has the hot flash, maybe you could set up a jug of water with some cucumber slices or whatever you may know what she likes, some fruit berries in there, and have it in the fridge. Not tell her, hey, when you have your hot flash, I've done, because again, you're not looking for that tick. Okay, I've done something good for you.
Right.
Just have it there.
Yeah.
And if
absolutely.
you keep having it there, she will notice it. And if she asks a question, you told me about your hot flash. I just wanted to make sure you had something nice to drink.
Yeah.
And that's it. You're not looking for praise, you're not looking for anything, but you can do little things. And by now you might know, okay, she likes this. Maybe she likes chocolate. Paulette always talks about having chocolate on hand. Maybe you know what her favorite chocolate is. Instead of bringing flowers, which may trigger, okay, what did you do? You did something wrong. That's why you're bringing me flowers. Maybe bring her favorite chocolate.
Right.
And just put it there so she notices it whenever she's ready. So you don't have to make these announcements. Okay, I did this for you, but doing little things, women do notice, and those little things go a long way. And those may be the things that encourages her to open up to you, to share things with you.
Yeah. Yes. Dr. Marcia said, "What about fixing environments?" Yeah, absolutely. Allowing for the fact that your partner may want the house to be cooler than you normally have it. So, turning down the thermostat, simple things, having cooling pads on their side of the bed, understanding that in the middle of the night, you might suddenly get all of the covers because they don't want them anymore
Or you
because
may
they're having night sweats.
because she's having a cold sweat.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Maybe just go to bed with a coat, buy an extra coat for the house because it's gonna be freezing. But not have an argument of why is it always cold? Because again, we're the ones experiencing it. You may hear about it, but you have no idea unless you're going through andropause. And God help, because I've had clients, both of us are going through it's crazy. But if you don't know it from a personal standpoint, it goes back to what you were saying of believing the person.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is what the person is experiencing. Just believe them and make adjustments when you can.
Yeah.
It's going to be challenging. We're not saying it's not challenging, but if this is the person that you want to be with for the rest of your life, then we have to do something about it.
And I think she talked about the small things. That's where it starts.
That's why I'm smiling. That's why I'm laughing.
Yeah, it is the small things. That's where they start. I mean, before you start making big steps, look for the small things that you can do.
Yeah. I think that's at the heart of what we talked about today, really, apart from communication. I'm saying that's the heart of it, really. What can we do to help our relationship? They're the small things, right? They seem insignificant, and there's no point arguing about it. And sometimes a change is needed. Sometimes it is part of life. Sometimes they say the toothpaste thing. I'm not going to go crazy and insist that the toothpaste must go one way or another, right? I'm saying that's really small thing. Whereas something like the washing up is important enough to say, yep, I see that that can be aggravating.
Right.
Because if you're arguing about people doing the same thing over and over, and they keep doing it, then that multiplies the frustration. I understand that, but I think it's understanding enough or listening enough to really know what's really important and what's can we afford to let go. Because it's going to happen again tomorrow, even when you change the small things. So you just have to be wise enough to know where to let it go and where to make a change.
Yeah.
I think Christopher's question, say Dr. Marcel said, don't avoid healthy conversation for sure. Again, I think it gets better with time. I think things get much easier with time, right?
That's the upside. That's the silver lining about perimenopause. You're going to have plenty of time to practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like someone's honesty. But Simon, Chris raised it and a big question.
Oh, I am being verbally abused on a daily basis. Is this normal? So first thing is there's no normal. Every woman experiences perimenopause and menopause differently. You talked about this at the beginning, Lisa. There's over 100 symptoms, and a woman might have 1 or 2 or 50.
Yeah.
So there's no normal in this transition. It is an individual experience. So so first, is this normal? It may well be normal for your partner. That may be how she's experiencing the transition, is to lash out. And also you've got a lot of other, you said earlier, you've got a lot of other life stressors feeding into this. So hormonal fluctuations cause stress. There's a biological system at work here that feeds into this stress. Then you've got life stress on top of that. And yeah, absolutely. Could this be a normal for you? Yes.
Yeah, and we're not saying that it's not going to be challenging for you and for the rest of your family. It certainly can be. But again, sometimes just putting yourself in the other person's shoes, because she's dealing with all the hormonal changes, and she may be very well walking around with 50, 60 symptoms and not realize that's what's going on. Especially if she talks to a doctor or she talks to a friend and they tell her, well, it's just aging, or it's just this, and they dismiss her. So she's thinking, okay, maybe she's even going crazy, because a lot of clients, they think they're losing their mind. They think it's just them alone going through this. But then you have your particular family situation of the horrific thing you all went through. So she may not even know how to deal with that, internalize it. You know, where does she go from there? Maybe she blames herself. You know, there's a lot of things going on. So sometimes, yeah, her normal is lashing out at everyone else because she doesn't know how to deal with all the things she's going through and still show up for work or show up and do her household chores. You know, they're telling her to be normal when her life isn't normal.
Yeah.
So it can be really challenging on the family. And then we don't even have good answers, because if she doesn't realize she's in menopause or doesn't want to admit it, then we can't even have the conversation of the right type of support or the medication or anything, because she herself doesn't want, you know, she's not there yet. So, you know, I'm not sure if you have other family members you can reach out to, a priest, or, you know, it's just something that sometimes you're just gonna have to keep trying. But if this is the person you want to be with and you fell in love with and you have children with, sometimes this is your normal until it passes. And it's sad to say, but sometimes there's very little you can do until she's ready to admit it. But don't keep trying, you know, keep trying, keep reaching out, have the conversation with her, ask if there's, you know, what can you do, if there's any ways you can support her. You know, don't try to fix her. I think just keep having the conversation. Is there anything I can do for you right now? What do you need right now? Tell me, you know, how can I help you? You know, let me know what you need. I think coming from that, eventually she may come around to it. But I think there's so much trauma there. It's a really, really difficult situation.
I don't think, you know, is that part. You know, someone mentioned it earlier where it can feel like all the things are wrong, and you know, maybe she won't know. Say, well, no, let's have a conversation somehow. You know, to try. I think it's trying to listen through the, you know, you call it verbal abuse. I'm going to try and listen through what's being said and try and get to a conversation. You know, what is it that's really important? What are you really upset about? What are you really asking? Yes, I know you're screaming, but you know, what is it really? Yeah. And so, sometimes you get an answer, sometimes you won't. Most of the time, you probably won't, right? You know, but so unless you carry on trying to understand back to a point of come from a place of love. You know, one day, you know, you might just find that you might just have the breakthrough where she says, you know, she might tell you, okay, here's what it really is. And here's the things that really do me, you know, the things that can really make a difference. You know, until then, say, you know, I think we can look within us and ask ourselves, really, you know, what can I do to be, you know, a better partner? That's just a question we have to ask ourselves. What can I do to make life better for us? Now, back to what we were saying earlier, Simon. You know, I'm willing to really look and take away the things that are frustrating, things that are time consuming, energy consuming things that unhelpful in our lives, really. So it's not easy. This is where it gets really hard, right? We have to be truly honest with ourselves, and say reimagine our lives almost. But say, I mean, as Lisa and Simon have said, that we know that we're looking at this through the lens of the hard times that you're having. So I can't think of two harder things to cope with. Menopause by itself is hard enough. Grief by itself is hard enough. Means that combine the two, you have a real, a different situation completely. Right? We'll feel for you. Look, maybe it's have a conversation with Lisa offline. Really, I mean, even Simon saying they're both menopause specialists. So have the conversation, my friend.
Yeah, we did have a conversation already. There's someone I'm thinking of that I'm connecting him with. He speaks about men in menopause in our country. So maybe because sometimes it's just to understand what the person is going through. So I will reach out and give you another name to reach out to.
Yeah. There is a way forward. Like I say, if this is a person you want to spend the rest of your life with, you have to find a way forward.
Yeah.
Keep trying.
Yeah, just keep trying. Yeah. So we're over time, but I think we did well today.
Only by a minute or two. So
Yeah, we did well. Simon, I know you were talking about your book. Is there anything you want to leave us with? Is the book ready, or can we know when is it going to be ready?
No, so I have got the first 2 chapters complete. I'm working on the proposal now to go to an agent. So that's the next step, is getting an agent and then going from there. So it's going to be a while before the book comes out, but I am writing all the time on Substack, and that's where I get a lot of feedback from. I float ideas, I write things that I am toying with or have written in the book, and see what kind of feedback I get. So that's really helpful when people actually comment on things I've posted and come back to me, because then I know whether this is material that's good. So Substack is definitely the place to find me.
If an agent doesn't take your book, Simon, come on now, I'll publish it for you, all right?
Well,
I'm not paying an advance, though. I'm just saying. Just saying hashtag, right?
Yeah, and he has published a lot of books and made it bestsellers on Amazon and stuff. So he's serious about what he's saying. So I'm seeing Josette.
Dr. Josette.
Peloton, yes. Hi, welcome. Thank you again, Simon, for being here. Really appreciate it. I'm really happy I met you on Substack. Please put your Substack link on LinkedIn so that people can follow you there as well. Yeah, because I like I said, I connected with you there. I love what you write. I love the perspective that you take. I think it's always helpful to hear people's perspectives so they could say, okay, I'm understanding what you're going through. That's happening to me as well. There's a lot of comfort that comes with just acknowledging, okay, someone else is going through what I'm going through. So thank you so much for being on the show. If you're watching on replay, please let us know where you're joining us from. If you have any other comments or questions, leave it in the chat on LinkedIn. We do respond to them, so please leave it there. Thank you so much for being here with us. You could have been anywhere else and you chose to be here. I really appreciate that. Thank you to all the men in the room who always show up. That means a lot. It means that you find this is a safe space to share and chat. So thank you so much. Not a problem, Christopher. And I will reach out to you between today and tomorrow. There's someone else I think you should have a conversation with that can support you. Because he talks a lot about men and menopause. So it'll be good for you all to chat. Join us again next 2 weeks, Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, where we'll have another conversation about menopause. And if you're struggling with menopause or you just want to have a chat, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you could leave a comment in the underneath, and we'll reach out to you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much,
thank you,
everybody,
Simon.
for being here.
Thank you for sharing gems with us. And the man's part is hard. That's it. But we easily do remind the kids as well. I'm sure. I'll tell you that being the supportive man, partner is, it's a hard place to be. And God, we have to change as time goes on to cope with menopause.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many things that we can say that about. Because normally we're like, now don't do that. With this, we have to look within and find the answer within.
Yeah.
But thank you, everyone. So do join us again. Thank you, Lisa, as well. This is your work, right?
Thank you. You'll have a blessed evening.
Take
care, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Good morning.
Every step forward is a new beat for your drama. She's success with Global.Media.com and celebrating with or without champagne or rum. She's success with Global.Media.